Greetings, Earthlings, wisdom keepers, wisdom seekers. Welcome back to WizdomDropz, your source for daily drops of wisdom and savvy cat astrology. I am your astrologer, TONIA, and today we are talking all about how to use the moon by transit. And if you don't know what that means, cool, no worries. We're gonna just go over that real quick, and if you do know what that means, no worries, because I'm gonna go over it so quick that you're gonna be like, oh, no problem. So by the end of this video, you're gonna have a better idea of how to consciously, as a magician, if you will, use the moon's transits through the heavens to your personal benefit. And that's pretty cool if you ask me. So let's get into it. So the first thing that I want to just clarify for people when I say the moon by transit is that on any given day, the moon is like the quickest moving planet or luminary through the heavens, right? It moves through a sign in like two and a half days. So every two and a half days, the moon is changing its sign. That's like a quick moving planet, you know what I mean? So it has a lot of opportunity within it to use it on any given day because it is constantly in changing flux. So based on the sign and the element of that sign that the moon is currently transiting is going to give you a big clue as to two different things, friends. The first thing it's going to tell you is where in the world is the collective consciousness on that day. That's going to be a huge indicator. Wherever the moon is transiting is going to give you a clue as to how other people are going to be feeling their feels, and how other people are going to be thinking their thoughts, and how other people are going to be expressing their energy out to you and to the world around you. So those things in and of themselves are going to be really useful. The second major thing it's going to show you is that, and tell you, is how to use the energy around you on that day. Because once you understand the first thing about where's the collective consciousness, where are my personal emotions more likely to be on any given day, then you can begin to apply that information to your own benefit as somebody who's on a path of spiritual evolution, on a path of spiritual growth, on a path of growing more harmony and kind of like going with the flow in one's life. These things are going to serve you by understanding where the moon is. And to find the moon, it's very easy. You can go to any astrological software online. I personally prefer astrotheme.com. A lot of people use astro.com. I don't find that they're as like fun and colorful and interactive as Astrotheme is. It's just a good free tool that's accessible to anybody, so you can use whatever floats your boat. There's apps you can find, whatever. But based on where the moon is, that's going to give you all these clues. So today, as I film this video, just to give you an example before we talk about more of the application and how to actually use that in your life, the moon is in the sign of Pisces as I'm filming this, and it's actually coming in hot to a conjunction with Neptune in its own sign, Pisces. So today is a lot of feels, today is a lot of emotions, today is a lot of like chill vibes, art vibes. People today might not be as good at finishing their plans because they get caught up in like a different state of consciousness or like a different state of existence, and they want to just go ahead and like maybe go with their flow a little bit more and end up actually getting like drunk today or ingesting some other form of like substances. If you are into like marijuana or like any kind of like alcohol or whatever, that's like a healthy part of your practice, a healthy dosage, if you will, in your life, a healthy presence. Okay, today is like a really good day to like partake in such things and to have more of a pleasurable experience in that process, because Neptune is in Pisces, and as I said, it's its own sign, right? So Pisces, what is Pisces? It's all the sensitivity, the emotions, the feelings, the deep spiritual soul turning of our collective consciousness, because Pisces is the oldest sign of the zodiac. It's the 12th sign of the zodiac. It's a water sign, and it's mutable, so it's constantly changing within the flow of water. So it has that kind of mystical component to it because it is water, and it's very psychic and intuitive because of that. But because it's ruled by Neptune, it's going to be more escapism oriented, more phantasmal, more like fantasy kind of like energy. It's more fluid, ephemeral is the word I'm looking for. Pisces is a very like ephemeral, fluid, feeling based, sensitive, intuitive, I can't say the word intuitive enough, sign. So when you have the moon, which represents the collective consciousness when it's outside of a natal chart, right? Because at any given time that you're born, well, that's really important. But guess what? At any given time ever, there's going to be transits happening in the sky. So when you understand, well, the moon today for a soul who's born today is going to mean a little something different, but for the moon today for all the rest of us is still going to mean something important, because it's going to symbolize all of our emotions, our feelings, how we're expressing those feelings to people around us, to family members, okay, etc., etc., because the moon rules home, all those things. So how do you use that energy? As I just said, with a moon in Pisces, for example, you can enjoy Piscean things more. It's also a really good day for healing. So if you're like a shaman, or if you're a Reiki healer, I know lots of Reiki people watch these videos. If you're like somebody who does energy healing period, or like a massage therapist even, you're going to be able to connect with the energetic realms more, and spiritual realms more easily, because those energies are more pronounced today out in the heavens, because the moon is in the sign of Pisces. You see the connection? That's how it works. Now, a couple days down the road, the moon is going to come into Aries, and when the moon comes into Aries, that is a very fiery, passionate, expressive, bold, out there kind of energy. Very different energy, friends. Very different energy from a moon in Pisces. So a couple days from now, your own internal emotions are probably going to be changing up a lot, and you're going to notice that people around you, same thing, because the moon is the collective consciousness. If you didn't watch the video I just did about how to interpret the moon, your own birth chart, be sure that you look at that, because it's going to give you a lot of insight when we start talking about the moon out in the world. Okay, so let's talk about how to use the moon a little bit more now, because I promised you that that's what we would be talking about in this video. So when you think of how to use the moon, you can think of it largely as a planning mechanism, or a psychological mechanism, kind of like a tool in your toolkit to approach any given day that you're going to go ahead and experience. So what do I mean by that? I mean, if you have a Reiki session, just to use the example since we just brought it up, if you have a Reiki session, say you're a practitioner or a client, and you have an option to book that session over the course of 4 different days, say your schedule's available and fluid for that. If the moon is going to be in a water sign, okay, on one of those, couple of those 4 given days, it's probably a better day for you to think about scheduling that session, because the moon is going to be in a water element. It's going to be in a place of home, because the moon naturally rules the sign of Cancer, and Cancer is like the supremo water sign, right? So if you think about where is the moon happy and where is the moon grumpy, the moon's going to be a lot happier, generally speaking, in a water sign. And if you're doing moon-ish things like energy healing, like massage therapy, etc., something that is healing in nature, then you, generally speaking, are going to benefit when the moon is in a water sign. Okay, now on the flip side, say you're a teacher, or say you're a student of theater, and say you want to have a really fun day with your kids, or with your students, with the people you're working with, or even say you're a performer and you're scheduling your own performance. Say you're like a creative musician, or like an actor, and you're doing some skit for people, whatever. Say you're planning that. You want to look at a day where the moon is in a fire sign, because when the moon's in a fire sign, it's going to be all the collective consciousness is going to be bringing out and making more pronounced in the consciousness these element of fun, this element of joy, this element of passion and experience and zest, and like just going on with different adventure based kind of like things, and even like cranial based things, because you know, fire rules intellect at a certain level, and it's just one of those elements that gets people more in their thoughts than their feels, if that makes sense. But feels on that day are going to be more towards the passionate side of things, and less towards the emotive, like I want to go lock myself in my room and cry kind of energy, which is more of like water moon days, if that makes sense. Now, with this said, before I continue into the other 2 elements, there is an important clarifier, okay? And that is that when the moon is in a sign, when the moon is in an element, as we've been talking about it very simply, like the element of water, the element of fire, there are always also different exchanges and conversations that moon is having with other planets. So you always want to consider that. I mean, you can totally go off of what I'm saying, definitely, friends, as like baseline good advice, good sound advice for how to plan and approach your day, okay? But you also want to consider, I'm just putting it out there as an important caveat, is the moon in a square aspect? Is the moon in an opposition? With what other planets? And how do those conversations influence how I can use the moon on this day? These are good questions to ask yourself as a student and practitioner and applier of astrology. If you have the ability to look at these things and to study these things, I suggest you do, because if you want to use this stuff at like a next level, trust and believe you're just going to be using it at a next level by going off of the baseline advice I'm giving you of like, which element is the moon in today, okay? But if you want to like advance yourself in how to use this, then you want to start looking at the things like the aspects and what planets are in flow or in challenge. That's like flow being like sextile, trine, challenge being like opposition and square, okay? So that's just like a tidbit, but let's continue with the other two elements, and then we're going to ground like another thing that's really important to understand about this. If the moon is in an earth sign, the moon is going to be showing you through that expression that it's a good day to approach more financial or property-based matters. So if you're somebody who's like a business person and you're planning a business meeting, and say we have the same hypothetical example, you have 4 days in a week where you can maybe schedule that business meeting. If you have the moon transiting an earth sign in one of those 4 days, think seriously about scheduling that meeting for that day, because what that's going to do is it's going to allow you and the person you're meeting with to experience more of the business element on that day, because that's where your brain and your consciousness and your emotions and your just state of being is going to be more like inclined to be at and be with on that day, is those types of business vibes, property vibes, value vibes, okay, economic vibes, because the moon is in an earth sign. Moon is consciousness, feelings, earth sign, rules all that stuff I just said. Now let's switch it up. We just talked about earth, we talked about fire, we talked about water. Now let's talk about if the moon is in an air sign by transit. Well, this is a fantastic day, friends, to socialize. If you want to socialize and have like a party or have like some type of internet engagement, have some type of connection-based exchange with people, whether it's over the mobile or over the computer or in person, whatever that means for you in your life, the social possibilities are literally infinite, okay? But even if that's like social media based, whatever that is, if you have like a big launch, let's say you're a person who has your own account and you know you're doing your own thing out there and you're like promoting something and you're looking at your calendar, and we have the same hypothetical example, 4 days are free, which day do I choose? Choose the day where the moon is in an air sign, because the moon is the consciousness of the collective, the feels, and air sign as an element rules communication, it rules thoughts, it rules talking, any form of communication and exchange. The air signs rule exchange with other people. So if you want to give that energy turn up on the day that you're looking to do a release or do some type of a party or like a social event, look at a day where the moon is in an air sign, because all that energy is going to be even more easy to access for you and all the people who you're looking to engage with that energy, okay? These are simple astrological hacks that often get looked over. People often don't realize how to use the moon by transit. So this is important information if you want to like up your life a little bit in terms of the spiritual realm, and just use simple small hacks like this to make your life a little more in flow, to benefit yourself and kind of like your own path and evolution a little bit more. I'm giving you this information understanding that like the people watching this video are going to be like really high vibe and using it for the best possible applications. If I was catering to a different audience, I would have told you all the malefic evil ways to like use the same energy, right? But with that said, like, you know, I hope it brought you some value, and before you click off, be sure to let me know down below which element your moon is in. And then if you want to even tell me if you resonated with like the different general themes that I gave for each one of those energies, then that would be really helpful. Also, the other thing I wanted to quickly say is that you just need to use the moon, in summary, you need to use the moon as an indicator for the theme. Think of it as simple as that. The moon is the indicator for the theme of energies that are going to be more easily carried throughout your day. Okay, that's as simple as I can say it, friends. With that said, I am available for readings. If you want a reading, go ahead and reach out to me, either DM on the Instagram, I will respond to you, or just email me at WizdomDropz, that's all Z's, at gmail.com, and I'll be sure to get in touch with you over my current specials and rates. With that said, friends, I hope this video served you. Give it a thumbs up if it did. Don't forget to subscribe. Subscribe, people. Heart this. Show me all the love. Mwah, 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 and may the stars be with you. Peace.